The Spiral. A confessional account on what not to do is told in The Coloring Effect. 57 years old, happily married, and the mother of 4 adult children. I also have 11 lovely grandchildren. I emphasize that I am a happily married person. However, I began speaking with young men online about 6 years ago. I downloaded images they thought were of me, of a stunning young woman. I liked talking and felt younger. That's what I did for over 2 years. My daughter caught me off guard, and the rest of my kids stopped talking to me for a while after she told them. I considered my actions and how they might have destroyed my wonderful life and marriage. I gave up. My daughter discovered the photos I had downloaded about a month ago before I could do anything with them. Thank goodness. We got into a fight. I removed the images and stopped thinking about it. I'm here to see whether anyone else has experienced something similar. None of it is known to my spouse. He would be devastated, therefore I would never tell him. No way could I injure him. What made me do it, given how much I love him? Remarks. It's evident that you want attention, but you have to understand that if these young men realized who you really are, they probably wouldn't be paying you that attention. I'm not suggesting you're not a kind or lovely person. Simply stating that they believe they are focusing that attention on someone else, even when it isn't genuine or fair to them. This would probably hurt your hubby. Does he not pay any attention to you? Or do you just need to feel validated? Remember that what these other guys are giving you is fake. Without a doubt, you should see an Ike. Take care of yourself before it ruins your marriage. But I haven't done it in 5 years, and I firmly believe that I won't do it again. The respondent says, despite knowing for the entire time, my children have never spoken to my spouse. All I want to know is what motivated me to do it and give it further thought a month ago. I want everyone to know that, although I haven't told my husband about my previous transgressions, I've had my first counseling session, and I'm grateful for all that everyone has said, and would urge that you continue if you have any useful information to share. When I signed up for the site, I was aware that I would have to read some content I didn't enjoy. I found the term counselor offensive. Perhaps it was just my preference not to discuss it with someone. However, I've done the initial step, which has left me somewhat perplexed but driven to continue. Recall that they are my family. I haven't communicated online in about 6 years. How can I help myself? Depending on what you mean, as I was 16 when I met my husband. He and I were the only two in the world. We had no friends at all. Together, we would tackle every task. After that, I continued to raise my kids until I was 23 years old, having done so since I was 19 years old. Then, naturally, our kids took center stage in our life. To be honest, we didn't go out that much. Or we would take them all if we did. Along the road, we've experienced several incredible holidays. Orlando Ski Resort. However, it has always been familial. While my daughter works 3 days a week, I watch my 1-year-old grandson and read a lot. Whenever we can, my girls and I get together for coffee. However, other from greeting each other and passing the time of day, I can't really say that I have any pals. My spouse is a wonderful partner. He is considerate and attentive, and we enjoy sharing laughs. I just wonder why I would worry about it all over again now, 6 years later. Oh, and neither my kids nor my spouse will know either. Having just had one appointment with my counselor thus far, she has perused all of my messages and answers. And she replied, "We'll get there in time." I consider myself to be older rather than elderly. We grew with our children because we had them when we were still young. Every one of our children and I are very close. With our grandchildren, we are now repeating the same actions. I do feel that I don't get enough attention from my husband. While there was occasional nasty banter, the most of the conversation was casual. In actuality, I'm not the scarlet woman that many people attempt to portray me as, but I can't tell him. I'm often told I should, yet I'm not able to. I have a counselor now, like I mentioned, and I'll get through this with her assistance. Will telling my husband help me identify the source of my issue? Remember, that was 6 years ago. I'm going to move on. I am ashamed of what I did. I did not say that I had just done it. I haven't engaged in what you refer to as it in about 5 years. However, I realized that when I did it, it was incorrect. I feel ashamed of what I did. I promise not to do it again. I am aware that what I just stated is probably making you giggle as you sit there. With my family, I've got all I could ever want. It did happen, but my life is fantastic. I'm getting counseling right now. However, I'm also getting completely destroyed in here. It's been far worse in other stories I've read. Furthermore, as it was so long ago, the offender is being instructed not to inform their spouse. Additionally, ruining things now would be pointless. Why am I so unique? The pictures had only been there for a short while, but even after downloading them, I didn't give it any thought. Do you not think that I would have used them by now if I was going to use them? I will never do that again because I know deep down that I wouldn't. I adore my hubby too much. Something more that none of you accept. Regarding the concealment, my kids promise never to tell my spouse anything about it. He is never going to find out and sustain no harm. My objective is to ascertain why I did it. Remarks, you're using other people's opinions about one tiny aspect and circumstance in your life, as though that somehow characterizes you on a human level, which it doesn't. Are you a bad person in my opinion? No. Do I support your choice to keep this information from your husband because you engaged in an adulterous relationship? And do your kids deliberately keep it from their dad? No. You're telling your children that it's more vital to protect their mother than their father. Even worse, it is more crucial to defend your mother's terrible behavior than their father's excellent behavior. I apologize, but I will call foul on that one. I have never agreed and I never will. You have done more than merely wrong your spouse, and it's on your children. Shifting the blame is another indication of adultery. I'm just saying, it's encouraging to see that you are trying to understand your actions, but it won't be real until you accept full responsibility for your error. True errors have repercussions, yours don't. It's true that you and your daughter are guilty of keeping this information from her father. It's simple, you did your husband any wrong. To own it would be to acknowledge the error and take responsibility for the results. Given that part of the reason you did this has to do with what your husband is or isn't doing, it's possible that the reason you did this cannot be fully resolved until you and your spouse work things out. Op answers back. Neither my spouse nor I have ever cheated on each other by sleeping with another man. That is not something I have ever desired. We've had highs and lows. Everyone is present in this. The forums wouldn't be empty otherwise, but we've conquered them. The most of them have dealt with money, and my husband and I have always gotten along well. I'm guilty. It's not something I flaunt for everyone to see. We have a close relationship. Furthermore, don't you think he would question me about it if he believed I was hiding something? We have discussed every other issue that any of us has encountered during our marriage. It is not his guilt, it is mine. My 4 kids are aware that I visit a counselor and that we have an appointment later today. I called them all to my house and we talked about this. I shouldn't inform my husband for the reasons my counselor has given me. I'm doing everything she says. I'll keep going even though I find it difficult to understand where she is taking her line of assistance. In my opinion, the person in question ought to have informed her spouse. I simply don't feel well about secretive marriages. Story 2. I've been married to my hubby for 17 years. 12 years married. We both have strong opinions and sometimes become engrossed in our own affairs, so there have been ups and downs. Despite my deep knowing that I loved him more than he loved me, he and I have 3 children together. I genuinely thought he loved me more than anyone else could. Simply said, we are not the same person. Enjoyed ourselves immensely whenever we did something together. Had an intimacy about her that made other people envious. Thus, July 14th arrives following yet another fight over the child's responsibilities. He claims that he is no longer able to tell me that he loves me. How come? All right, so we make love, cry, discuss, cry, and so on. This emotionally taxing for days on end. We attempt therapy. After 3 tries, he gives up. I'm a wreck as he moves out for a few weeks. I act and say in a desperate manner. Our youngest daughter is so devastated by her father's passing that she can barely stand it. Her age is 6. Our elder kids, ages 15 and 18, are unhappy but more irate. He takes up residence once more. We still have a close relationship. I adore this man. He tells me he wants to move into his own house as smoothly as possible. All he really wants is some alone time. I learned that he has been communicating with someone else for the past 6 months, and she is enamored with him. He claims not to love her. He's not going to desert me for her. She keeps getting in touch with me, which exacerbates the situation. Both he and I have been strained by this. To cut a long tale short, we make out several times a day. There's no connecting, but even so, he holds me while I sleep. He continues to cry and apologize, telling me that he wishes he could change how he feels, but it's not possible. I feel like I'm at the end of the road, and his apartment will be ready on January 1st. He claims he is too ashamed and guilty to face his family and friends, so he has severed all ties with them. I believe that my only option is to let him leave in the hopes that he would recognize his error before it's too late. This is killing me, yet I swear to my husband and my marriage. How likely is it that he will return home? How can I be sure he wants to make it work if he does? It breaks my heart to think that I might not get the chance to be with him again, even though I know I should be ending our intimacy right now. I understand that I won't be able to carry on with any of that after he moves out. I refuse to be called a booty. I think I simply assumed that maybe he would understand how close we are. He's going to lose more than simply bonding. I'm taking the kids and going to his parents' house alone after Christmas. They and I are quite close, and they have helped and supported me greatly throughout this whole process. I had to go since we only get to visit them once a year and their health is inconsistent. Refusing to face his father, he says he can't. I understand that this is his decision, not mine, and that he must accept the consequences. One can only hope that this is an MLC, though. I truly feel bad for him since he will be living alone after he moves out because I have such wonderful pals. I've always looked after his emotional needs. He claimed that his favorite thing about me was that he always felt loved and supported by me, and that he never felt alone. I'm perplexed as to why I don't deserve the same treatment from him. The past few days were challenging. Yesterday, we had a conversation regarding $sign and my ability to keep up our family home once he left. I informed him of my financial needs. I am collaborating with him in a calm and sincere manner. When he claims he won't have enough money to eat, let alone do anything else, I feel bad for him. Rent, his personal credit cards, and the debts he took out over time will all be paid for by him. I'm so sorry. I attempted to cut him down to what I needed. He went on to add that he doesn't want to cause me any trouble and that he will simply stay put if I can't get the money I need for the house and the kids. He wasn't suggesting that I was preventing him from moving or that I was being cruel. He stated that many separated or divorced couples cohabitate in order to support their families, etc. I informed him that's not what I want. Even if I will die if he leaves, he will not stay because he wants our marriage to succeed, and he will become resentful of me. I informed him that I genuinely thought we had a chance to be happy together and keep our marriage intact. But in order for that to happen, he needed to move out and choose whether or not he will be content on his own. Do I have this wrong? I am aware that he was seeing another woman, but she moved out of state. After her last attempt to get in touch with me, he cut off all communication with her. His family is fully aware of it. When I learned about his mother advised me to pack up his belongings and place them outside. His father informed me that he used to behave in a similar manner and pleaded with me to be the kind, understanding person he knows I am and to pardon his son, who is acting without understanding. Regarding our financial status, we have always been upfront about all of our debts. I am aware of where every penny goes. He's the kind of person who would live naked for me and take off his shirt. Simply wants to stop showing me his love. He has expressed his regret for his actions and pleaded for my pardon. But he is no longer in love with me and cannot commit to our marriage. Positively, we've had some thoughtful conversations regarding our kids' feelings about things. I emphasized to him that although they still want him in their life, things have been tense in recent years. With our youngest, he is quite close, but not as much with our older teens. As I lay in bed last night, I heard him conversing with our 15-year-old son in our living room, who confessed to me that he despises his father and is eager for him to go. My asked him if he wanted to see the movie this weekend that they had been discussing. He was asked by our son who was leaving. My son answered, "Okay, sure," seemed excited when his mother mentioned it was just the two of them. I was so thrilled that it almost made me cry. I hope that despite everything, they stay closer. To be honest, I never intended to revive the past romance. In that, we each made our fair share of blunders. I had thought that I would be significant enough to him to start a fresh, loving, and more transparent relationship. You see, I can't seem to get past this wall of selfishness he's set up. I suppose it's not my responsibility to point out the wrongness of his actions. In 13 days, he moves out, and I think I'm just not accepting the reality of the situation. Normally, he and I get along great, but then he starts to feel bad about everything I say or do, which makes him upset. That demonstrates to him my continued love and willingness to work on our marriage. I'm aware that his moving out will be difficult, but it will be for the best in the end. For the time being, however, Though I believe our definitions of what is best for our kids differ, we are both dedicated to doing what is best for them. Does anyone feel bad that their kids won't get to experience typical childhood activities like family vacations with both of their parents? For our 6-year-old's first encounter with Mickey, we had booked a trip to Disney World for the upcoming summer. He is still welcome to attend, I told him, and participate in that, but he claimed he would find it awkward. This is a man who can travel to Orlando with me and his kids, but he finds it difficult to be intimate with me. Next week, my spouse, our kids, and I will enjoy our final Christmas as a family in our current house, with the intention of letting him move into his own apartment on January 1st, something for which we had been preparing for some months. It all feels so depressing. It has been challenging, to put it mildly, to live together for the past few months, and especially during the past few weeks, primarily as a result of our extensive time spent together. Family time and dinners. H has chosen to stay in bed with me and watch television till we nod off, similar to the past. And he's holding me when I wake up. I find it puzzling since it appears and feels like he is second-guessing himself from one angle. However, he later sends me an email stating that he is still leaving, adding that it is for our quality of life, and that I would rather to live alone than with him treating me and the kids like miserable bastards. He wants a divorce, but he hasn't filed after I advised him to go ahead and do so. The kids are content that we are all together, but I worry that they may get depressed when the move begins shortly after Christmas. I have to pretend for the time being that he is not coming home, even if a part of me is grinning that there is still hope. Since he can't make himself fall in love with me again, he exudes confidence in his choice and believes it to be the right one. Only time will tell, I suppose. While part of me is scared that I won't want to when he returns and understands what he has done. My goal is to focus on myself and get through this with my kids. We are not legally separated, but even though I love him, I don't think I could ever go through this again. And I fear that this fear will prevent me from letting our H move out the following week. He has committed to giving a set monthly payment to help the children in our house while he is out enjoying his single life. We've always had 2 different accounts off of our joint account. We use the joint account to pay our bills, and we both have individual accounts with money we set aside for personal use. The arrangement called for him to keep depositing money into the joint account through direct deposit, and for him to move the funds to my account on payday. He says he wants to switch his DD to go into his own account, which is not accessible to me today. I told him no, and I think I touched a nerve when he asked why I had told him I wouldn't have access to it, and what would happen if he didn't want to pay me. He questioned my reasoning for believing that he would act in such a way. You have recently done a whole shitload of things I never believed you would do, so much so that I wanted to shout. Though everything tells me not to let this happen, I really want to trust him. He's leaving today and won't be there when I get back. I'm spending the weekend at his parents' house without him, along with the kids. He is unable to face his family. Claims he doesn't need any additional guilt or shame because he already feels too much of them. We had a conversation before bed last night, and he promised to start moving this weekend. He wants to hang out with me and the kids when we get back on Monday, and on Tuesday we're going into town. The new chapter of our lives starts after that. The children 18, 15, 6 know this, despite their conflicting feelings about it. Due to their tight relationship and everyday routine of spending time together before bed, D6 will have a very difficult time. Though we all believe he is being egotistical and is erring, only time will tell. I simply have to make sure that the harm is as little as possible, and even though I don't want to hurt him, I have to stop putting up with him and include him in the family that he is leaving behind without endangering my kids. Weekend visits are scheduled to begin on January 11th at his new residence, and we decided that he would pick them up and prepare dinner one night a week. Apart from that, I'll be the only one involved. A few days later, I return home, and he remains here. However, he moved a lot of his belongings this past weekend. In front of our D6, who felt it was an excellent idea, he requested to stay one more night here. He's staying, so in the morning he's taking us out to breakfast. After that, we'll take some of D6's belongings to his new apartment, so she may be comfortable when she spends the weekend there on the 11th. She expressed her sadness and her sincere desire for H to remain at our house in front of me. She believes the apartment is too small for him, though. We took a seat and told her that everything would be all right, and that he didn't want a large space. We should be all right, in my opinion. Update. Well, the split is happening gradually but definitely. H moved his belongings out of D6 over the weekend, and I helped him somewhat yesterday with the remaining belongings. Went to his apartment with D6 to arrange things and also set up her belongings there. This time, she's handling everything fine. H left for 3 weeks at the beginning of August and September of this year. The last time, we handled it in a way that really caused her to struggle. Her worry and terror have somewhat subsided now that she is involved. Last night, the kids and I went out to dinner together. D18 recommendation. Children want us to try doing some family-friendly activities. He has consented to my visiting schedule, which includes dropping the kids off at school on specific days and having dinner with them once a week. For the time being, we seem to get along okay. I have to get proficient at executing the 180 for both him and myself. It will be a significant adjustment, but one that doesn't diminish the time the kids deserve spent with the two of us. As a family, we spent a lot of time together. Up until a few months ago, when the fallout from the "I love you, but I'm not in love with you" speech happened. How much he is involved with O at this moment is unknown to me. He texts her every now and again, but I genuinely believe he would like to be alone. I have avoided spending time alone with him, even though I know he still wants intimacy with me because he has attempted since I returned. In addition to working and spending time with the kids, I'm going to concentrate on myself and my house. In my opinion, he will be occupied over the next few months settling into his new apartment and acclimating to his new schedule. After enjoying his newfound independence for at least 3 or 6 months, he'll undoubtedly come to terms with his actions, feel alone, and want to make amends. By then, maybe, I'll have the strength to tell him that I don't want things to go back to how they were. Thus, he must demonstrate his desire for both me and our marriage. Even if none of that materializes, I will at least have a more organized home, improved communication with my children, a healthier body and mind, and a more positive perspective on what love is and should be. I've given my marriage and our previous years together a lot of thought. I am aware that we have both altered history, me to make it better than it was, and him to make it worse. I know this man better than anyone else on the planet, but that's just life. Sometimes it stinks. Since the day we first met years ago, we have been best friends and lovers. I firmly believe in soulmates, second chances, in eternal life. I will never forget the offensive things he has done or said, and he ought to regret the pain I have caused. We shall grow stronger if we can figure out how to get back to each other. You may say that I am a stander. The topic of divorce will not be discussed with me. Even though pod people have taken my husband hostage, I refuse to give up on life until he comes back to earth. I shall continue to live my life to the fullest as a joyful mother, friend, worker, daughter, and person until he understands what he has lost. And until then, I will support him in keeping the best possible relationship with his children. Dating is the one thing I will never do since my heart is with someone else. That's not all, though. I'm going to attempt my own 180-degree turn because I think he should start bearing the repercussions of his decision to go. Though I'm really sorry for him, I think he'll come back to me eventually. I believe, hope, and love that our union is meant to be. I'll start regaining my identity in the interim and make the most of life. About a month later, I told him last week how upset and helpless I feel that I have to take care of all the parenting alone now that he has moved out, and I begged him to do more. I wasn't sure if I wanted to spend this Thursday with him because we had been getting together on Thursday nights and spending it alone. Fine. He told me over our text chat that although he was intellectually over our relationship, he still desired me sexually. We would be fine one day and then start insulting one other the next. This, rather than something from my thoughts, was how I responded to him. All right, I appreciate it. And I sincerely apologize for bringing us to this point given everything we have meant to one another over the years. I adore you so much and I think you are the most incredible man I have ever met. I appreciate and adore you, and I will always have a special place in my heart for the amazing life we shared for the brief period of time. Your love for me made me feel capable of many things I never knew I was supposed to do, and you gave me the strength to be a wonderful mother. I'm sorry I won't be there to support you when you achieve the remaining amazing things, but I'm proud of everything you have accomplished. I'm sad that you won't be by my side when we are old and need someone to be with us, but I know you'll do it. But as you come to new insights and share them with me, I realize it's time to bid adieu to one another, our shared existence, and our dreams. I have faith in you and wish that you will eventually find a life partner so that you won't have to face challenges alone. My love, good night. I've been living away from H for the past 3 months. Although D-Day occurred in July, a lot has happened since then. I was obviously not upsetting anyone because I was still somewhat in contact with my husband. As ridiculous as it was, I was essentially forced to live with him. We continued to share a bed and hanging around and talking, but I had to keep it to myself and not tell the O since their relationship was built on deception, and I would lose him if he found out. You got it, all right? I just need some time to move on from him because I've been so weak in handling the situation I put him in. I finally sent the email I had been meaning to write to O and her sister, stating unequivocally that he had lied to her about everything since the day they first met, and that the reason I hadn't spoken up about our continued relationship was that I was scared of being alone. However, I've come to understand that sometimes a relationship is just not healthy for you, even though you love someone. As he stated, I assume she called him. He was saddened and upset by what I did. It hurts because he doesn't talk to me too much. But I understand that I have to move on from him. To be honest, I find this method easier. His house key was on my table when I got home last night. I had to work late last night, so he came over to eat dinner with the kids. To harm me, he left the key. Although he claimed not to, I know that he simply assumed after what I had done to him. I would like it returned. I told him and thanked him. One final point. Over the past few months, I've come to the realization that I have prioritized your feelings throughout our relationship, always making sure you're content and okay. I set aside my hurt and self-respect even after such a great betrayal and numerous hurtful remarks from you to make sure you knew how much the kids and I loved and cared about you. I considered how you felt about not being able to do things with you, yet I was accused of doing it just to be with you. My only wish was for you two to be content. That has been my major objective, even through my tears. That's love. And it's how and why I was able to come to terms with the fact that you never truly loved me because you would never have done that for me. It's all right. Though I am the only one who can take care of myself, I don't despise you. And the first step in doing so is to stop prioritizing your needs. I'm sorry. I will make an effort to spend less time with him and to associate him with negative experiences rather than positive ones from the times I believed he loved me. It's Friday, and I can't stop thinking about the wonderful 40th birthday celebration he planned for me last year, and how, at the time, he was already unfaithful to me. I'm just curious about how much of my life has been a lie. The other woman doesn't think I'm real. I must have underestimated her level of stupidity. She possesses all the necessary facts to determine that he has been deceiving her. She still desires to visit him, too. Since I'm equally as foolish as he is, what kind of magic spell does he have on us? My spouse and I live apart from each other. He hasn't told me that he wants to quit seeing her or are. But he won't let me be alone myself. I love him and want to be with him. Thus, it is difficult for me to set limits with him. I attempted to put an end to the affair, but when I expelled him, it became apparent to me. But he's keeping his behavior with me a secret from her. I have since sent her a letter with full disclosure, but she doesn't seem to trust me or else she wouldn't still want to see him. He lies quite well. How come I can't let go? I refer to her as his girlfriend. He corrects me, saying she is not, but they are going to Mexico next month since she is in love with him. Even though I truly believed STBX was starting to see that our marriage wasn't that far gone, he now lives alone. Yesterday, she was with him all day and all night, and then took off into this morning's sunlight. Today, I'm giving a lawyer a call. Last week, I also underwent a complete STD panel. It's funny, though, that he kept apologizing for ruining your future, or rather, ours, not mine. However, I believe I will make that adjustment so that my future can still be amazing. The main distinction is that you're not going to give it to me. My comment. It took Op some time to find out how to respond to my reply. But she will no longer be with her cheating partner on this journey. I'll make an effort to finish one more video today. We'll see.